It was the year 2020. The world was gripped by uncertainty. In the quiet corners of coin collecting, something remarkable was stirring. A quarter, just 25 cents in face value, was quietly making its way into circulation. But this wasn't just any coin. It was the Salt River Bay quarter, minted to honor a place few had heard of, yet destined to become one of the most talked about coins of the decade. And among its rarest versions, one would later stun collectors by selling for a jaw-dropping $102, 500. The Salt River Bay National Historical Park and Ecological Preserve sits on the island of St. Croix in the U.S. Virgin Islands. It's a place of lush mangrove forests, ancient archaeological sites, and deep ecological significance. It's also the only known spot where members of Christopher Columbus's expedition set foot on what is now U.S. territory. That alone makes it historic. But in 2020, the U.S. Mint chose to immortalize this location in metal, releasing a quarter that would become a modern legend. The coin was part of the The Beautiful Quarters program, a series that ran from 2010 to 2021, showcasing national parks and historic sites across all U.S. states and territories. The Salt River Bay Quarter was the third release of 2020 and the 53rd overall in the series. Its reverse design features a bold, almost haunting image of a red mangrove tree, its roots sprawling like fingers into the water, symbolizing life, resilience, and a fragile balance of nature. The design is striking. Unlike any other quarter before it, on the obverse, the familiar portrait of George Washington remains, but with a twist. Some versions of this coin bear a small V75 privy mark, a tribute to the 75th anniversary of the U.S. victory in World War II. This mark, shaped like the rainbow pool at the World War II Memorial, adds a layer of historical depth and collector appeal. And then there's the mint mark. Most quarters come from Philadelphia, P, Denver, D, or San Francisco, S. But in 2020, the U.S. Mint did something unexpected. They released a limited run of quarters from the West Point Mint, marked with a W. Only 2 million of each design were made with the W mint mark, and they were mixed into circulation. No special packaging, no announcements. Just a treasure hunt waiting to happen. The 2020 W Salt River Bay quarter became an instant sensation. Collectors scrambled to find them in pocket change, bank rolls, and coin jars. The thrill of discovery was real. And when one surfaced in pristine condition, graded MS-67 or higher, the bidding began. These coins weren't just rare. They were mysterious, beautiful, and tied to a moment in history. Repeatedly, they appeared in auctions, each time drawing more attention, more competition, and higher prices. But the real shock came when one of these quarters, bearing the W mint mark and the V75 privy, graded at an elite level, sold for $102,500. That's right, a quarter, 25 cents, sold for over $100,000. It wasn't a fluke. It was the result of rarity, condition, and the perfect storm of collector demand. Beyond the W mint mark, the Salt River Bay quarter has other varieties that fuel the frenzy. There are coins with die cracks, off-center strikes, and even double dies, where the design appears ghosted or doubled due to a misaligned die. These errors aren't just mistakes. They're stories. Each one tells a moment when the minting process faltered and something unique was born. Collectors love these coins not just for their value, but for their symbolism. The mangrove tree represents resilience in the face of adversity. The V75 mark honors sacrifice and victory. And the W mint mark? It's a nod to mystery, to the thrill of the hunt, to the idea that treasure can still be found in everyday life. The Salt River Bay quarter has been repeated in auctions, each time reinforcing its status as a modern classic. It's not just a coin, it's a movement. A reminder that even in the digital age, tangible history still matters. That a small piece of metal can carry stories of nature, war, exploration, and discovery next time you see a quarter, especially one from 2020. Don't dismiss it. Look closer. Check the mint mark. Search for the V75. You might be holding a piece of history. You might be holding a fortune. Because in the world of numismatics, the line between ordinary and extraordinary is thinner than you think. And that, my friends, is the story of the 2020 Salt River Bay quarter. A coin born in tribute, reborn in rarity, and now etched into history with a value of $102, 500 at not bad for 25 cents. It was 2008. The final stretch of the U.S. Mint's ambitious 50-state quarters program was underway, and Oklahoma's turn had finally arrived. As the 46th state to join the Union, Oklahoma's coin had a lot to live up to. But no one expected that this quarter, just 25 cents in face value, would one day become a collector's obsession, repeatedly appearing in auctions and ultimately selling for a staggering $1.92,000 at first glance. The Oklahoma quarter is a visual masterpiece. The reverse design features the scissor-tailed flycatcher, Oklahoma's state bird, soaring gracefully above a field of Indian blanket wildflowers. The bird's wings stretch wide, its tail feathers elegantly trailing behind. It's not just a pretty picture, it's a symbol of freedom, resilience, and the open skies of the Sooner State. The flowers below, vibrant and bold, represent the state's rich Native American heritage and its vast prairies. Together, they form one of the most dynamic and artistic designs in the entire series. The coin's obverse remains familiar. George Washington's profile, designed by John Flanagan, facing left with the inscriptions, United States of America, Liberty, In God We Trust, and quarter dollar. But beneath the surface, this coin holds secrets that only the most dedicated collectors have uncovered. Minted in Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco, the Oklahoma quarter came in several varieties. The Philadelphia mint struck over 222 million coins, while Denver produced around 194 million. San Francisco contributed proof and silver-proof versions, minted in far smaller quantities for collectors. But it wasn't just the mint marks that made this coin special. It was the anomalies. Some Oklahoma quarters were struck with filled dies, causing letters like the B in Liberty to appear bloated or incomplete. Others featured die chips on the bird's wings or the flower petals, creating unique textures and shapes. Then there were the off-center strikes, where the design was pushed to one side, leaving a blank crescent of metal. These errors weren't just flaws, they were stories. Each one told of a moment when the machinery hiccuped and rarity was born. But the real legends were the high-grade specimens. Coins that escaped circulation, preserved in mint sets, or discovered in original bankrolls, retaining their original luster and flawless detail. One such coin, graded MS-68 by a top-tier grading service, sold for $750. Another, a 2008 P-graded MS-67, fetched $72. But these were just the warm-up acts. Then came the shocker. A 2008 Oklahoma quarter, struck at the Denver Mint, graded at an elite level with near-perfect surfaces and razor-sharp detail, appeared at auction. The bidding was fierce. Collectors recognized the rarity, the beauty, the historical significance. And when the final hammer fell, the coin had sold for an astonishing $1.92,000. It wasn't a fluke. This coin had been repeated in auctions, each time drawing more attention, more bids, and higher prices. Its value wasn't just in its metal, it was in its story. A coin that honored a state, celebrated its culture, and defied expectations. The scissor-tailed flycatcher isn't just a bird, it's a symbol of Oklahoma's spirit. Agile, graceful, and unmistakable. The Indian blanket isn't just a flower, it's a tribute to the land's indigenous roots and natural beauty. And the coin itself? It's a reminder that even the smallest objects can carry the biggest surprises. Collectors across the country began searching their change, examining rolls, and scouring mint sets. The hunt was on, and every so often, someone would find a gem, a coin that looked ordinary at first glance but turned out to be extraordinary. It happened again and again. The Oklahoma quarter became a modern legend. But why the obsession? Why would anyone pay tens of thousands for a coin worth 25 cents? It's about more than money. It's about history. It's about the thrill of discovery. It's about owning something that connects you to a place, a moment, a story. For some, it's an investment. For others, it's a passion. And for a lucky few, it's a life-changing moment. Imagine finding one in your grandfather's coin jar, or spotting one at a flea market. That's the dream. That's the chase. And it's happening again and again. These coins have been repeated in auctions, resurfacing with new grades, new stories, and new price tags. The 2008 Oklahoma quarter is more than a coin. It's a symbol, a reminder that value isn't always obvious, that beauty can be found in the smallest details, that history can hide in plain sight. Next time you see a quarter, especially one from 2008, don't dismiss it. Look closer. Examine the bird's wings. Study the flowers. Check the mint mark. You might be holding a treasure, because in the world of numismatics, the line between ordinary and extraordinary is thinner than you think. And that, my friends, is the story of the 2008 Oklahoma quarter. A coin born in tribute, reborn in rarity, and now etched into history with a value of $92,000, not bad for 25 cents. It was 1967. The United States was in the midst of cultural upheaval, civil rights marches, the Vietnam War, and the Summer of Love. But while the headlines captured the chaos, something quieter was happening at the U.S. Mint. A coin was being struck in massive numbers, over 1.5 billion times to be exact. It was the Washington quarter, a coin so familiar it barely drew a second glance. Yet hidden among those billions was a version so rare, so pristine, and so misunderstood that it would later ignite bidding wars and command an astonishing $297,000 at auction. The Washington quarter had already become a staple of American currency. Since 1932, it had carried the dignified profile of George Washington, designed by John Flanagan. His gaze was firm, his expression resolute. On the obverse, the inscriptions "Liberty, in God We Trust," and the date, 1967, framed the portrait. But unlike previous years, this coin bore no mint mark. That was no accident. In 1965, the U.S. Mint removed mint marks from coins to discourage hoarding during a national coin shortage. That policy continued through 1967, meaning every Washington quarter from that year, whether struck in Philadelphia, Denver, or San Francisco, looked identical. No mint mark, no way to tell its origin, just a sea of sameness. Or so it seemed. The 1967 quarter was part of a new era in coinage. Gone was the 90% silver composition of earlier years. Rising silver prices had forced the mint to switch to a copper-nickel-clad formula. 91.67% copper and 8.33% nickel. The coin measured 24.3 millimeters in diameter and weighed 5.67 grams. It was durable, economical, and designed for mass production. But not all quarters were created equal. That year, the mint also produced special mint sets, SMS coins, intended for collectors. These weren't proofs, but they weren't regular business strikes either. They had a satin-like finish, sharper details, and smoother surfaces. Over 1.8 million of these sets were made, and while most were tucked away in collections, a few escaped into the wild. And among them, one coin would become a legend that it wasn't just the SMS coins that drew attention. The 1967 quarter is known for a variety of errors and anomalies that make it irresistible to collectors. There are double-die obverse, where Washington's features appear ghosted or doubled. There are off-center strikes, where the design is pushed to one side, leaving a blank crescent of metal. There are coins struck on wrong planchets, foreign blanks that slipped into the production line, resulting in quarters that are too light, too small, or the wrong color. Each error tells a story. A moment when the machinery faltered, a hiccup in the minting process, a chance for rarity to be born. But the real prize? The ultra-high-grade specimens. Coins that escape circulation entirely. Coins that retain their original luster, their razor-sharp details, their untouched surfaces. These coins are graded by professional services like PCGS and NGC, using a scale from 1 to 70. Most coins fall somewhere in the 60s. But a few, just a few, reach the elusive MS-68 or even MS-69. And that's where the magic happens. One such coin, a 1967 Washington quarter graded MS-69 with flawless surfaces and a stunning satin finish, appeared at auction. The bidding was fierce. Collectors recognized the rarity, the perfection, the historical significance. And when the final hammer fell, the coin had sold for an eye-watering $297,000. It wasn't a fluke. This coin had been repeated in auctions, each time drawing more attention, more competition, and higher prices. Its value wasn't just in its metal, it was in its story. A coin that marked a turning point in American coinage. A coin that defied expectations. A coin that became a legend. But why the obsession? Why would anyone pay nearly $300,000 for a coin worth 25 cents? It's about more than money. It's about history. It's about the thrill of discovery. It's about owning something that connects you to a moment in time, a moment when the rules changed, when silver disappeared, when mint marks vanished. For some, it's an investment. For others, it's a passion. And for a lucky few, it's a life-changing moment. Imagine finding one in your grandfather's coin jar, or spotting one at a flea market. That's the dream. That's the chase. And it's happening again and again. These coins have been repeated in auctions, resurfacing with new grades, new stories, and new price tags. Collectors scour estate sales, online marketplaces, and old rolls of coins, hoping to find the next gem. And every so often, someone does. A coin that looks ordinary at first glance turns out to be extraordinary. It happened before. It will happen again. The 1967 Washington quarter is more than a coin. It's a symbol, a reminder that value isn't always obvious, that history can hide in plain sight, that even the smallest coin can carry the biggest surprise. That is own next time you see a quarter, especially one for 1967. Don't dismiss it. Look closer. Examine the edges. Study the strike. Check for doubling. You might be holding a treasure. Because in the world of numismatics, the line between ordinary and extraordinary is thinner than you think. And that, my friends, is the story of the 1967 Washington quarter. A coin born in transition, reborn in rarity, and now etched into history with a value of $297,000. Not bad for 25 cents.